What is the thing that separates this masterpiece from others?
Hey! Do you trust your wife?
Because this movie is genuinely considered by majority of movie fans like an absolute goat, the top of the mountain, the pope of cinematographic industry, the greatest greatness of yeah, I will stop. Even the fact it is about criminals just waiting for their death, but it's kind of catching these overall bad people in some sort of a better light, but it's not defending them in the same time. I mean, you can already say that I'm absolutely fascinated by this movie. From the smallest details like lighting and camera systems and interiors and exteriors and pretty much everything else. For more than 10 years, this story was never actually a film. It is based on Stephen King's novella Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption that's part of the big collection of series called Different Seasons. And even the fact Stephen King is definitely more famous for his horror stories like Carrie, The Shining or Psalms a Lot, Shawshank Redemption in its novella form was well rated, but not anywhere near as the later movie adaptation. But it definitely showed a big potential because Stephen King proved that he was able to make a deeply emotional story where even criminals could make likable characters. And because Stephen King is an absolute legend, he is also famous for selling his rights of his books and ideas for movie adaptations just for very laughable money. In 1987, director-screenwriter Frank Darabont acquired the rights to adapt Shawshank Redemption from Stephen King, and King sold his rights just for $5,000. Yep. And he even later said that he was so thrilled with the movie adaptation that he never actually cashed the Darabont's check. What he did instead was taking that check and framing it as a memento on his wall. After dealing with the rights for a proper movie, one company called Castle Rock Entertainment backed the whole project. The company was known for supporting character-driven films like Stand By Me, which was another King adaptation. After that, co-founder of Castle Rock Entertainment Rob Reiner was actually so impressed by the script, he offered to Frank $2.5 million, which Frank respectfully declined and said that he wants to do this project by himself because it was one of the first big projects and because he saw big potential in it. So this project had finally all the coverage and resources for making it real. The budget for this movie was set at a very modest $25 million that certainly helped with filming the whole movie in the actual Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, which in my opinion definitely helped the most with the atmosphere. Actors themselves were interviewed that this place was setting was so depressing and tiring, but it helped so much with their acting. And speaking of actors, we all remember Tim Robbins as a legendary Andy Dufresne character, but he was far from the first choice. As a first choice of Darabont was actually Tom Hanks and then Kevin Costner. And I was thinking about this other day and I still think that Tom Hanks would be the perfect character for this role because he proved especially in 1990s that he can make this calm, introverted but still ambitious character so well that I think it would be absolutely smashed to this role. But due to some scheduling issues because he was in the making of other films in that time, I cannot find if it was because of the Forrest Gump or something else, so he was out of the place. Kevin Costner had the same problem, so the third option was Tim Robbins. Tim in that time was not that famous. Probably the most recognizable one was his side character in Top Gun. He also had some characters in, let's say, more of a B films, but I think that's exactly what helped him in the end. He was underrated, but that was also his role, the main character. Andy Dufresne is a shy, introverted guy that no one actually paid attention to him, and you can just see how much the other guys in that prison underestimated him. Even he was not the first option, still I have to make credit for Frank Darabont that he have chosen him because in the end, even the fact Tom Hanks would absolutely smash it, Tim Robbins was a masterclass. But Frank had another casting masterclass idea because he decided that Morgan Freeman would make the great Alice Redding. Some books fan could protest here because the character of Red should have red hair, that's why it is called like that, but the director was convinced that iconic actor like Morgan Freeman would make the great character itself, but more than that, he would make the great narrator for the movie. So he did, and most genius part of this guy is that he was not talking that much in his prologues for the story, but when he was talking, he spit one of the most iconic quotes, I would say, from the whole movie industry.
I have to remind myself that some birds aren't meant to be caged. Their feathers are just too bright.
The third very important casting decision for me was finding the right guy for Mr. Norton. And oh my god. I mean, you can always discuss who would be better in this role or another, but Bob Gunton as a boss of the whole story, I think with his looks and his preparation before the movie, Bob Gunton as an actor ability to convey commanding presence paired with his twisted Christianity, I really can't tell you how much I love this character. Maybe even more than Andy and Red, because he made the character so believable and so much on its right place. These kind of performances are the reason why I love films, like overall. I could also talk about pretty much every other character and the relationship between later arriving Tommy and Andy and Red and everyone else, because every dialogue, every facial expression and action is there not just for filling the story like it is in a lot of other movies, but it's there because it's got some hidden meaning. Especially I like the scene where Mr. Norton comes to Andy's cell and they are talking about Bible.
But I prefer, I'm the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but you'll have the light of life.
John chapter 8, verse 12.
I hear you're good with numbers.
I think the biggest difference between a good actor and a very good actor is their ability to show the character not by words, but by their facial expression. And this movie is full of this effect. Just look at Mr. Norton, just look at him. What he's telling you without saying a word. What is he showing? In my opinion, he's showing high confidence, maybe even arrogance. He's happy to hear something that he wanted to hear, and he seems like he's a smart person because it looks like he's telling something to himself. He's assuring himself. And he didn't have to say a word for these emotions. There is so freaking many scenes like that with different characters, it's almost unbelievable. But that is the thing. Of course there's many dialogues and monologues and everything, but it's so well directed and coordinated to perfection that it creates a real picture. As the time goes in a Shawshank prison, it seems to me that there was a bit of emphasis added to Andy's character, because even he's staying the same over the whole 19 years, but not entirely. Except visual changes, there's just a tiny accent of him being more wise, more slow, and just in the later half of the movie, he knew how the shit is going on there. I think that Andy's library was not a coincidence of choosing, because it's defining him. It's quiet, smart, and enjoyable, not just for him but also for his friends. Part of the puzzle of this film. And we come to my last part, and that is the plot. We had a lot of movies where the protagonist was judged by mistake and now he's in jail and he tries to survive there with hundreds of problems. I mean, one could even say it is a cliche plot from a prison set movies, but, and I think there's a big but. What makes the real difference between good and great film is about how technically mastered they are. And I have never ever seen something that has to be so well directed with every scene, every dialogue, every placement. Of course there are videos where people are discussing everything bad about Shawshank Redemption, and I mean they are right. For example, the biggest mystery for me is how did Andy manage to destroy a humongous tube with a small rock by hand? I don't know, and probably no one will ever know, but this is really just a tiny detail in superior film. You have probably already seen this movie more than once, but I just thought let's take a step back and look again at how a proper high-budget, high-quality movie should look like. Even the fact I'm not smart enough to appreciate at least half of different jokes and references and deeper thoughts that are included in this film, but still.